Well, good afternoon or good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is doing good. I am flying by the seat of my pants right now. And I don't, Charlie, you're going to, first of all, hello. Hey, Brian. Hey,
Todd, hey,
Charlie.
how's it going?
I'm pretty
Welcome,
good.
everybody.
Yeah, welcome to a new channel. Um, right away, I have to say thank you so much to Charlie because he's helped me set this up. Um, but I
Charlie's
do.
here, StreamYard babysitting us, helping us out with the new technology. So
Yep.
appreciate that, Charlie. Thanks for helping us out with everything.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem.
So I'm just going to get right to it, and I'm going to put the link in the chat, and then
Click on the
well,
three dots.
it's not there, Charlie. It doesn't say anything about pin. So do I have to wait until it gets closer?
Are you sure? Are you on the right YouTube?
I'm on YouTube. Yeah.
I know, but are you on the right Loma Vista YouTube or your personal YouTube?
You know what? I don't know what channel I'm on. It
All
says
right,
Loma Vista.
all right. I'll
So
tell you what you do. Go up to the top of
oh,
your.
timeout. There we go. It should be pinned now.
Now
Okay.
it is
I was at the wrong
three dots.
at the wrong three dots. Rookie mistake. So
All right. You're on the right thing, and then you've got your screen, your YouTube screen off to your left. Also,
no, I didn't do that. I'm just gonna toggle back and forth. I'm
no,
just gonna stay on
just take that YouTube tab and just drag it to the left or whatever, and
yeah.
it'll disconnect. Now you have two screens running at the same time.
Yeah, I don't have that. But that's all right. I'll figure it out later.
I see that
So
Brad at Faith Apiaries has a wrench as well. Bob has a wrench. That's awesome. Any moderators out there, if you want to help out, that'd be awesome.
yeah,
We're going to figure out how to make more of you guys moderators.
yeah, yeah,
Wow, we got a lot of great names, a lot of the regulars in here.
yeah.
Welcome, everybody.
Go to Keith there and click on him.
Hang on. Let me which
Keith
one?
Keith Spillman, Half Track Honeys.
You mean this one right here?
Yeah, now see how you bring him up?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, but now click on the, does he have three dots on the side of him?
No.
You got to go on YouTube side, remember. YouTube.
Okay. Oh yeah. I don't want. Oh, there we go. Add.
What's it say?
Managing or standard moderator?
Standard, I think.
All right. We'll start there. All right. Welcome. Let me get a couple of these guys. Hey, Brian, while I'm doing the house cleaning for a second, can
yeah. You want me to take over?
Yes, sir. Please, for just a minute.
You bet. Well, welcome everyone. I am Brian Zavada. I live in Colorado, Lakewood, Colorado, which is a Denver suburb. For those of you folks that don't know me, I'm looking at the names in the chat, and it looks like most of us are familiar names. But it'd be fun to kind of do a little bit of backstories tonight, right? To get to know us a little bit better. I am actually currently not in my market booth, which my background photo shows, but I am currently in Florida for helping out with Jen's in-laws. Jen's with me here in the chat. See her right there. But we live in Colorado. I see some Colorado names. I see Pete. I see Eric in the chat. Thanks for joining us. I moved to Colorado in 1996. Jen and I met in college. We got married. We moved to Colorado and started a family out there. I was a teacher, an elementary teacher for 20 years. I was going to school out in Colorado. I got my teaching degree. I got my master's degree in education. I taught at a K-12 school for about 20 years. And it ended with some health issues. And this is a part of my life I don't really talk about so much. I was struggling with back and neck problems for quite some time. Anybody has met me has seen kind of, I have a not the best posture and a little bit of a crooked back. I've been living with a crooked back my whole life, and most of my life it hasn't bothered me. But as I got older, life caught up to me, and I got to the point where I had to go on disability for 2 years, and I had to figure out what I was going to do with my life. 'Cause I knew I wasn't going to go back to teaching because that was wrecking me. I loved it, but it was wrecking me. So I spent 2 years and I started beekeeping maybe in 2014, 2015. So it was in a place where I was like, maybe I can make a go at this beekeeping thing. So as I was figuring out my health and changing my life, and I had a couple of surgeries, I was also playing with bees and finding live streams and watching everything on YouTube about bees. And I found this community. I found Cayman Reynolds and Bob Binney and Ian Stepler. And from there, that sent me down a path of the next stage in my life. I was able to get my health good enough where I was able to start working again. I went back working half time as a teacher and started diving into the business because I spent 2 years thinking about what I was going to do with the rest of my life and how I could turn it into something I could do and be be sustainable. I see Brent asking, "School is harder on your back than beehives?" Hell yeah, it was. Let me tell you, when I felt terrible as a teacher, I still had to get up at 5:30 every single day and go in and put a smile on my face and be that person that was for 25 or however many kids were in my classroom. And that's hard to do. I still have chronic pain, and I deal with it every single day. Here's
Mm.
the difference, though. When I feel terrible, I can stop because I'm my own boss. I can stop working bees and go home and take a nap. I can read. I can do the accounting. I can make candles or whatever. I'm in control of my life where I wasn't in that rat race. So you bet teaching will kill you. It is a hard job for sure. And I had to get to the place where I had to walk away. And we started our business, and now I'm a full-time beekeeper. I pay myself a salary. My wife helps out. She still has a full-time job. She helps our family with that full-time job, especially by having health insurance for all of us. And that's what's really helped us kind of dive into this business. We're at a point now where I'm trying to convince her to quit her job because I don't want to hire and expand anywhere beyond where I'm at, beyond my family. So I want to work with my wife. I'll hire my kids, but I don't want to grow beyond that. I want to stay mom and pop. That matches our business philosophy really well. And business wise, we're in a really good place. Denver's been really good to us. It's a place that you can make some money because there's people with money in a metro area like that. And my education background has really suited the business model too. That's been a part of what we do. So I'm still a teacher. I still consider myself a teacher. I just teach different people different things now. So that's my short version of my life. I grew up in New Jersey. I met Jen at Rutgers, and then we started a family. I've got two boys. They're both over 21, college age-ish, still trying to figure out what they're doing in life.
Hmm.
Now, Todd, I know you grew up in Missouri. You
No.
moved to California. I know your mom is out there in California with you a couple hours away. I don't know much about your backstory.
So actually, I grew up in California. I,
Oh,
my parents met down in San Bernardino at Norton Air Force Base. My dad was a civil engineer. My mom was a secretary for one of the I don't know, one of the colonels or something down there.
cool.
Then they moved up to a little town called Santa Maria, which is 30 minutes north of Vandenberg Air Force Base. My dad got a job there, and so I grew up there. Moved here to Fresno. Well, I'm in Clovis right now, but Fresno to go to Fresno State. I went to Fresno State. Started working. Got got married, had kids. You know, well, I live a private life, but I don't mind sharing it here. Got divorced. Um, two daughters. Started beekeeping. It was kind of funny. My oldest daughter's godfather is a almond grower on the west side of the valley here. He has last time I checked in with him, it was over 3,000 acres that he manages. And he kind of reintroduced me to the bee world, took me out with some coffee after church and said, "Hey, let's go talk." And he's the type of guy that when this guy talks, you just listen. It's like that old E.F. Hutton commercial. So I sat there and listened. I'd always played with bees when I was a kid. I got stung a million times. My mom would put my dad's pipe tobacco on my sting site, and they'd clear up just like that. But I never thought about keeping bees. And then my daughter's godfather kind of, I think what he wanted someone kind of in the family to kind of learn that trade to help him out, because he had 6 beekeepers from North Dakota that would come down and put bees around his orchards. So anyway, that's kind of how I got into it. And I started watching Fat Bee Man. Bruce is on here. I started watching Bruce a long time ago. And then it just kind of progressed. When I was on the Fat Bee Man side of things, I started joining the chats that he had, and met Greg Burns over that. And finally, I finally met Greg in St. Louis last February, the Eastern Missouri Beekeepers Association, which, sorry, Melissa and Tom, I will not be there this year. You could drop off now if you like. I'm kidding. And I met Bryan in person. I met Clay in person. I met Mark Miller in person. I met David Hoskins in person. I met Matt and Alicia in person. I mean, and of course, Tom and Melissa. It was a blast. I really had fun. But, you know, just being a part of all this stuff has gotten me wound up in everything bees. And the first channel I ever went on was this guy's channel right here. Or is it this way? I don't know which way it is. I'll never forget it. Bob Walker was, you know, goofing around with Charlie and kind of, you know, quote unquote picking on him, but, you know, not in a mean way. And I had watched it a couple of weeks in a row. And finally I thought, well, I've got to go out and look and see what's going on with the bees. It was in early April. Oranges were just about ready to bloom. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this. And I got on that. I clicked the link on my phone, and I told Charlie, I said, "Charlie, I came here to rescue you. And, you know, these guys need to stop picking on you and this and that." And, you know, it just went from there, you know. And so I've had ever since. That was, what was that? 3 years ago now, I think.
I've been on about 3 years. Well, going on 3 years.
Yeah. So, and it was, I think you started right in January or December, right? Didn't whatever
Yeah,
month,
wasn't New Year's Eve the first one?
The marathon show. So I jumped. Maybe it was late March, but it was a couple months after you had started doing it. So that's how long I've been around in this community. And so anyway, here we are, and you know,
I started watching Bob and Lee. I started watching the Hillbillies. I started watching the Stream Team, and it's been interesting to see how even the live streams evolve, right? The community grows and changes and shifts, and it's organic growth. It's really cool. And, you know, some people tap out, some people tap in, and I can get how this can become too much work for some people. And as Todd and I talked about what we wanted to do, we made it really clear to each other that we didn't want to invest in something that was going to burn us out so quickly. So we're not going to be a weekly chat. It's going to be fairly every other week. on my off season, my time is pretty open, but during the busy beekeeping, I am slammed, and Todd's
Mhm.
got a pretty busy schedule too. So we'll usually be on Thursday nights,
Yeah.
actually, after Ricky Rourke's live, but I had actually requested it to be Wednesday this week because I've got to fly back to Colorado tomorrow night. So it won't
Yeah.
be regular. It'll be sporadic. So thank you, folks, for understanding that.
And
Um,
we'll discuss the date of the next show before we sign off. On that show, we'll say, hey, will we be back in 2 weeks, whatever that date is. Because if something comes up, like looking at the schedule right now and going through the months, we might run into Thanksgiving and Christmas. We're definitely going to run into Nobby, so it's going to be off a little bit. So we'll keep everybody updated, and it'll be on the No Life Beekeepers webpage or Facebook page, and so nobody will miss anything.
Now, Todd, I have a question for you. You've posted pictures of your kids participating in FFA. I've seen that as some of your background pictures sometimes. Did they do that? Talk about your experience in the world of agriculture as well as your kids as you were a parent raising them.
But so I didn't say what town I live in. I live in Clovis, but it's like right next door to Fresno and right in the center of California, basically in the dead center of California. The San Joaquin Valley is known for growing most of the nation's and almost most of the world's basic foods. There's tons of stone fruit here. Stone fruit is everything that has a pit in it. They do cotton, they do corn, and not a lot of corn, but it's a diverse uh, amount of stuff that's grown here. So I'm like right in the middle of ag. As a matter of fact, I have 10 acres of almonds right here, and on the other side of that is more neighborhoods. So and then you go that way, there's a lot of almonds over there. But my whole ag experience uh, really is bees. That's it. My youngest daughter was in FFA, and that's where I got more involved in her stuff and her activities. She first started with the dairy goat. Dairy goat was the type was a La Mancha. Then she went into Boer goats or market goats. Then she wanted to get a steer. So we got a steer, and then she did a steer and a Boer goat at the fair every year. They raise their animals to show at the fair. That's really been the basic stuff. I was vice president of the Boosters Club one year. They only have one event, and it's a fundraiser for the kids every February. We had basically a dinner, a barbecue. I did a lot of the barbecuing. We had 250 tickets sold, so I cooked tri-tip, pork tenderloin, chicken, and then the head table paid a huge amount of money to be the head table. We served them, and I cooked New York steaks for each person. There were 14 people on that table. They paid it was like $200 each to sit at that table, but it all went to the kids. We had raffles, we had this and that, but really my whole ag experience has been with my daughter and my bees, and that's it. I didn't grow up on a farm. Really, to be honest with you and everybody, I don't think there's a lot of people that know this. Bob might know it. I told Tom this last week because Ricky was talking about this. I grew up playing golf. I started playing golf when I was 9 years old, and all I wanted to do was become professional. I didn't even want to go to college. When I was a junior in college, 1982, I was ranked 14th in the state in junior golf, and that's all I wanted to do. Well, my dad said, no, you're going to go to school. If golf craps out on you, you need something to fall back on. And well, it took a lot of pulling and tugging. I finally went to JC over in Santa Maria. Then I transferred over here to Fresno State. I redshirted a year, and that went to heck with the coach. And then I said, forget it, I'll get my education. And then after I was done with college, I did mini tours. I hit the road. I had a sponsor. I had some private money that sponsored me. I played professional golf for 5 years. I lived in my van down by the river. I mean, I did it all. I went down to LA, near San Diego, played up in Oregon, played out in Nevada, didn't play in Arizona, but I mean, it was a West Coast tour. So I did a lot of that. How I ended up with bees, I mean, I described that earlier. You asked me 40 years ago, I said, bees, what are you talking about? All I want to do is chase a little white ball around. And, here I am. So
That is so interesting, Todd. Thank you for
yeah,
sharing that. That's awesome.
yeah,
You know,
it's funny where life takes you. And then, and where you land is it's even more interesting, like I said, I would have never thought I'd have 75 hives or whatever it is. And produce honey and produce a crop and sell it. I mean, I like that interaction, So yeah, it's
look,
kind of crazy.
Alicia says Matt played golf before bees. Huh.
See,
Yeah.
it's a thing. It's a thing. So
I was not a golfer. I was a baseball player. Baseball was my first true love. And as a lefty, I'm left-handed. I was, when you're a kid, you're like first base or the outfield, and I
yeah.
couldn't feel the ground ball, so I ended up in the outfield. And I was pretty good, but not good enough to really go anywhere. It was fun, but I stopped in high school.
Yeah.
Um, and then as I got older, when I moved out to Colorado, I really got into mountain biking.
Mhm.
That was my weekend warrior hobby before beekeeping, and that obviously I had to stop with back and neck problems with
Oh
that
yeah.
mountain bike posture. But what a beautiful state to do mountain biking in
Hmm.
Colorado is. So
Yeah.
as a teacher, I had the summers off, and I would drive an hour to get away from the crowds, so I would, find the trails with no one on them, and
Hmm.
that was my happy place. And then when my body started falling apart, I was like, "What can I do that's
Hmm.
gonna give me that happy place to go to?" And, bees aren't great for my back either, but I went into
Yeah.
beekeeping thinking about how am I gonna make modifications to all this work right from the beginning. So I run double deep eights. Um, I don't stack more than 3 supers on my colonies. I don't fill my buckets more than 50 pounds, and man,
Hmm.
even that's a lot for my back. I can
Yeah.
pick it up, but it's a strain. So I've been
Yeah.
trying to live with accommodations for quite a long time, and
Yeah.
I've gotten
Back pain.
better at it. Yeah, it's debilitating, man. It
It
can
is.
it can just and it just kills your mood, and
Yep.
it just made me a foul person. So I definitely had to step away from teaching to get right. Do your
Well,
kids
well,
still
well, Brian.
participate?
Oh, go
Uh-oh.
ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, do your kids still participate in those FFA type activities?
Well, my youngest daughter is a police cadet, so she didn't even stay in ag. She actually wanted to be a equine chiropractor, and yeah, there is such a thing.
Okay,
She would be a regular human chiropractor, except she would work on horses. But
right.
she drifted off into police work, so she'll be going to the academy in January, and she will be commissioned in June. So we'll see what happens there. My oldest is finishing up at Fresno State. She took a little time off because of COVID, and she she's focusing on neurobiology, but
Huh,
she's in the school of psychology. She wants to be a clinical psychologist with a neurobiology emphasis. So whatever that means, whatever it is. But yeah, so that's what they're doing now. Um, I wanna. This is a big moment for us, Brian. I have to
Uh-oh.
introduce our first guest,
Wow.
and
Who could it
everybody
be?
knows him. So let's welcome our first official guest. I wish I had a door prize, but I don't. But I'll see him and Nobby in January. Here he is. What's up, Mike?
How
Big
you guys
Mike.
doing?
Great, Mike. How are you? Why are you not asleep? You said the
I
other
just
night
got
that's
home.
too late for me. Oh, there you go.
I
From
Oh,
was at
work?
the honey house extracting honey.
Nice.
oh, cool,
How you
cool.
doing?
Doing good.
Awesome. Good to see you.
Nice.
How's your honey harvest this year?
So, not bad, not good. I left
Yeah.
it on too long. They took a lot back with the drought.
Yeah.
I hate when that happens. That's
May not have to feed as much.
yeah. It
Yeah.
evens out some way.
You have a backstory you want to share at all, Big Mike? Anything from your previous life before a beekeeper?
My previous life still goes on. I'm a builder.
Yeah. So you got the overlap. I don't have much ag in my background either, Todd. I'm a
Yeah.
first generation bee farmer. You know, I grew up in New Jersey, and my all of my grandparents basically, their parents came over from Europe, right? Went through Ellis Island and just spilled right into whatever New Jersey neighborhood had other people from whatever country they came
Mm,
from.
yeah.
So there was a lot, like my dad grew up in, if you're familiar with New Jersey, Clifton, that area, and all around there, all these different immigrant families, which included lots of people with backyard gardens. So
Mhm.
my grandma's neighbor was Aldo, some Italian guy, and they grew grapes in my grandmother's backyard because their backyard wasn't big enough, and they were like VW people, so there was always a VW being worked on in their driveway right next to my grandmother's house. And then another family had a garden in her backyard because their yard wasn't very conducive to gardening. My dad had a giant garden in my backyard, and I could care less about it all as a kid. You know, it was, my mom sent me out to weed and I hated it, and she paid me money to do it and I still hated it. And I never really had any sort of affinity towards agriculture. I guess the first inkling in my life that was a clue that I might be into it was I got a job with my girlfriend's sister's boyfriend in high school as a landscaper. So I spent my summers chasing lawnmowers
Mm.
outside, and I loved working outside. Man, that was the best shape I was ever in. So that's when I was like, being outside is just healthy for you. Just spending all that time out in the sun, exercising while you're working. It was just good. It was good mental and physical health. Um, as a teacher, man, I guess this is how it went. We bought our house and I was like, I'm not going to mow my lawn every Saturday. Fuck that. Oh, sorry. Forget
No,
that.
hey,
I'm
watch
not
out!
going to do that.
I'm going to
I
get
know, I
fined here
know.
by the
That
FCC. What are you
yeah,
doing?
yeah. Yeah, I'll clean it up.
Where's the button
So,
at? The beat button.
so I went I'm going to start putting in pollinator plants. So I started ripping out my lawn. Hey, Brad. And
Hey,
I
Brad.
started putting in pollinator plants. And that's how I got an appreciation for pollinators. And then in the back of my head, I said, you know what? I should become a beekeeper. I should become a beekeeper. I should become a beekeeper. And then as a teacher, I had an email hit my computer one day saying, I'm a graduate from this school. I go to CU now. I'm going for entomology. Does anyone want me to come into their class and teach the kids about bees? And I was like, heck yeah. So that girl came into my class and she taught my kids about solitary bees. And I learned more about bees in that half an hour than I had known prior. And that was that thing that pushed me over the edge. And that was like, I think that was November of 2014, 2013 or 2014. So I spent the whole winter researching and reading and learning and bought bees the next year and was terrible the first couple years. And I started figuring out how to kill mites, and then I became a beekeeper. and that's what really turned the tables for sure. Man, speaking of people of backstories, hey Brad, how are you?
Very good. Very good. I,
Sure.
I wanted to drop in here and just congratulate you guys on your new show, and I really hope it gets a lot of uptake in your area and goes really well for you. I know you have a lot of wisdom to share and knowledge to share, and uh, you know, even the things beekeepers. I think any real beekeeper will always admit all of the things that they don't know, more than they actually know. Beekeepers. So
Yeah,
bring that together and then gathering that information and that experience and knowledge. It's good on you guys for doing this. I think it was
thanks,
Wow.
a
Brad.
really good call.
Thank you, Brad.
Appreciate that blessing. We're hoping that we can pull more West Coast folks into this
Yeah.
community. You know,
Yeah.
like you, we've gotten a lot out of this community, and hopefully we give a
Mhm.
little bit too. And you know, maybe we can expand that community to some folks that don't tap into it quite as much.
Yeah, that's one of the things that, funny, kind of a backstory of this evening. I found out today that there's a bee club meeting tonight. I told him, sorry, I can't make it. Well, you're up for nominations to be on the board. And I said, okay, well, is my presence required there? Do I have to be there? And he says, no, you don't have to be there, but we understand. And I said, look, I made the plans for this. I thought the meeting was going to be next week. So anyway, I'll find out. It started 30 minutes ago. I'll find out later on if I did make it to the board or
I'll
not.
elect you anyway. Just you'll be voluntold.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, but I forgot what I was going to say about that. But anyway, so
Todd, what
I want to
position?
back, huh?
What position?
Just to be a board member.
Like an advisor kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm not going to be an officer. They're doing officer voting and board member voting tonight. So
You may become
I'm
an
just.
officer. You
I
don't
said
know.
I
You're
was
not
going to ask
there.
Charlie what the heck's going on. Now he's leaving. Well,
What's that? What's
there
that?
you go. No, go ahead, Charlie.
I'll be back in a minute.
Ran
They're
out of
going
popcorn.
to put you in as president. That's what they're going to do.
Oh no! I told him I didn't want to
Charlie
be in an
knows.
officer position. I said no, I'll be on the board, but not the officer, not any officer position. So, but
DC says that they make you the cook.
yeah, I'll be out there every month in the parking lot with a barbecue, cooking up everything for everybody. So, what's going on up in your neck of the woods there, Brad?
Oh, not a whole lot. Just doing my work, and the
Yeah,
bees are kind of closing down, getting ready for winter.
yeah,
Weather's been pretty nice, but it's going to be turning around here. They say
yeah.
this
Not
week or so.
turning
We're going.
around, but not in the good, right?
Well, it's always mixed feelings to see winter come by. I'm not a fan of winter, but it's kind of nice to put the bees to bed for a little while,
Yeah,
catch up on a few other things. It's nice to put the bees to bed and then maybe have a month to do a little bit of work before we get into the dead of winter.
yeah,
That's not very pleasant at all. But yeah, we should be. I think we're going to be getting. I'm going to try and talk in Fahrenheit. We should be getting temperatures between 50 and 60 as daytime highs over the next week or two. So that'll help.
that's
That'll help settle
between
the bees down.
10 and 16, somewhere around there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I might be a little optimistic on that, but that's good. I started moving some a couple of days ago, and it was a cool day, and I decided to move some hives, and it was just a little bit soon. I need to
Yeah,
wait a little bit yet. It's nice to wait until they're really hunkered down and clustered into the hive, and then just kind of because I'm moving these hives here. I'll move some from here over to here, so you
hmm
can't do that in flight weather, right?
yeah,
Because they'll fly back. So wait for cold weather, And little tip for everybody, in my experience, I only need 1 day. Like if I have 1 day that they don't fly, they'll be fine. I can move them from here to there, and when they, if there's another flight day comes up, then they're fine.
They're none
They
the
only
wiser.
they only remember for about 24 hours where they live, in my experience. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I'm just trying to do oxalic acid vapor every few days. I think I'm going to slow down on my interval. I've been trying to hit them every 4 days. Usually, or quite often, I should say, it turns into 5 days and sometimes 6.
Hmm.
But I think I'm going to slow down for another week or so, and then get a few intervals in before the bees go in the wintering shed.
Well,
So are you gonna?
we've been here for 35 minutes, and I haven't heard Charlie say one word, I don't think.
He just did.
I mean, besides that.
He just got him off to say that. That's
So
ironic.
I thought you were going to leave a certain portion of your bees outside this year.
Yeah, that's right. I'm going to put the nukes indoors and leave the big ones outside.
Okay.
Yeah. So there should be, what did I say? 18, 34, something like that outside.
Hmm.
Somewhere in there. A little north of 30 outside, and there's 40, I think there's 43 nukes go indoors. If there's any oddballs, they'll go in the building.
You got a lot of room, though, still in there, right?
The building?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
You
not
could put everybody in there, right? If you had to.
If I really, really had to, and I cleaned everything out of that building, I can put near 300 colonies in it. I have had 192, I think, was the most I ever had in there. It was fairly full, but it wasn't cramped at all. So yeah, I could put a lot in there. My hive density isn't that high, You watch Ian's videos, and he struggles with constant hot spots, and it's hot in the middle of the shed and cold in the outside, and that's because he runs just about a maximum density in his building, and I don't. I'm well under 50% density, max density in my shed, so I don't have that problem. A lot of my hives are 6 inches apart or less.
Yeah. So let's kind of get on a little topic here. I brought on. I have a couple of things I want to talk about, and I think I did not watch the stream team because I was getting a StreamYard live tutorial from the one and only Sawmill Charlie. So again, thank you, Charlie, for helping me out. I think I've got the hang of this, but so I didn't watch the stream team show tonight, but I do want to talk about what's probably on a lot of people's minds, and that's the data that Bob Binney had come out with these last 2 weeks. So Charlie and I were kind of talking about this before the oh, hello. Hello, sir.
Showing my support.
So,
hey, Brad, you are my density. Well, I heard you. Back to the future.
I'm your density.
So I know that everybody's chomping at the bit at this information. So let's take a look at this first one. And so everybody's seen this. This is just the projected or the adjusted average of mites in a wash with all of the types of queens and then the treatments. Now, I didn't realize it until tonight. Call me dumb. No, don't, Bob. Don't go there.
It's your show, man. I got to respect you.
Don't argue with the host.
So, I was thinking that BRC was Baton Rouge Caucasian, but tonight I realized it's actually Blue Ridge Caucasian, or at least that's what I think it is now. But Brad might know the answer to this question. So if it's the second to the last column on the right is BRC with a pole. So is that a BRC BRC queen with a pole drone cross, or is the drone named first and the queen is named second? Do you know?
That's a really good question.
So
I I I don't know. If I were to guess, I'd say the queen was first because
that's what I would
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
the adjacent column is the opposite. It's Pole
Yeah.
Line and Blue Ridge,
And it
Yeah.
was set
Caucasian.
near his pole line drone fields.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, so the second name in that would be the drone, then, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So looking at this, I mean, just to me, obviously the second to last row is the experimental top bar number, and that's really the lowest of everything with the Blue Ridge Caucasian and the crossed with the pole line drone. So that was, that's pretty nice. And then the cousin to that, the pole queen with the Blue Ridge Caucasian drone was basically the next second or the second best producer. To me, this is more about looking at how the queens did, even though it's going to be the same information as this. But to me, this picture kind of points out more of the treatments, even though it's the same thing. It's just, to me, one I'm looking at the queens, this one I'm looking at the treatments because I could see everything better. The biggest thing for me is this. The dark blue line on the far left of any of those queen categories is the Viroxan laid on top. The next one is the Viroxan, the red or reddish or orange is Viroxan hanging in the comb. The dark green is the Canadian, and Brad, help me out, is it Canadian Varroa strips? Or
That's just what they call them. That's not what
Okay.
the product is called.
Okay.
They just call them that because they come from Canada.
Okay. So the Canadian strips, the top bar is the dark green, and the light, or the hanging in the comb is the light blue. Now, of course, then you have the experimental tab or top bar color. But what gets me is this. And Bob didn't know this until this information came out. I'm sure he's looked at it or thought about it. What would happen if what if he hung his experimental things between the comb, his strips in the comb? Because in every instance, the comb hanging outdoes the top bar. So if the top bar on the experimental side is below 1%, what would it be hanging in between the comb? It's kind of an interesting question. The other thing,
His experimental pads on the top bars beat all of the others,
all of them, correct?
right?
Yeah, yeah,
So the substrate is very meaningful, and I think the square inch area of his pad was even smaller
yeah.
than the others. So what it was it was really a higher concentration of OA, and coupled with likely a difference in the substrate for the delivery method,
And it
Yeah,
doesn't
I
ruin the
agree.
comb.
right?
But
On
what
the
if he
top bar,
hung?
it doesn't make them eat the wax away from the
Yeah,
strips.
that was that's why he was testing that, because it's not
Yeah.
desirable to put them next to the comb because it
Oh,
messes
yeah.
up the comb,
But
right?
what would happen? In every case, the comb beat the top bar.
That'd
So
be
if
really difficult to test because it's a totally different form factor. Like I don't know how you would very easily take that pad that he's got and put that between the comb like that. You know,
if
it just
if this
wouldn't work very well.
if it
You could do it, but it would not work well enough to be able to formulate a good side by side comparison,
yeah,
is what I'm saying.
yeah,
You could
yeah.
certainly do it. But you wouldn't be able to say, oh, this one between the comb was way better than this one between the comb, because it would be so different.
Mhm.
You would likely end up spreading the combs apart. to get, because it's a thicker pad. It's one pad, whereas the other drapes down two ways. It's
Yeah, no,
just so
I get
different that
I
it
get
would be really hard to compare the two.
the the thing that is interesting to me is if you go over to the third and second last example, if you want to call it, the Poline Queen and then the Blue Ridge Caucasian Queen, the control group was identical to the Viroxan that was across the top bar and not that far away from the one that hangs in the comb. Now, I'm not bad mouthing them. It's just interesting to see those, that number and that comparison. And it's the same, it's identical with the Blue Ridge Caucasian Queen. So it's kind of interesting how that
Yeah, almost in every instance, the Viroxan between the comb was the same as the Canadian strip on the top bar.
yeah. There's
which
lots of
is
things.
interesting
Yeah, there's
because
lots.
the Canadian strip has a higher concentration of OA, so
Mhm,
that's attributable to higher efficacy.
mhm.
But so that's interesting. Those Blue Ridge and Poline crosses, boy, they kicked butt, eh?
They did.
So you can see the difference that breed of queen
Yeah.
made, in addition to the treatment itself.
Now, going back to the first one, I wish you guys could see my cursor because I'm pointing with it. But the last column is the unknown queens, and what I kind of think about that as being are the mutts of the world that you and I can go out and get
My queens.
from a breeder. You know, we're not getting special queens in a program like the Golden West program or Indian Summers program or Bob's. So we're getting the unknown queens. So that's kind of where I think that all of our queens would lie in this type of data. And when you look at that, it's the experimental top bars that is going to by far do good damage. So it's very, very interesting. Super interesting to me. So,
Well, with the exception of the experimental, the experimental treatment, there's not a huge difference between. I mean, obviously the queens make a difference, right?
Yeah.
That's what this is kind of showing.
yeah.
But other than that, there's not a huge difference between not treating and using the Roxanne between the comb or on the top bars compared to just not treating at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it is minuscule. Like if you're looking at the Golden West, right? You got 2.7 and 2.3. And if you don't treat it, you get a 2.6. So you're like right in the range of being the same. So it's interesting to see that that there's not a huge difference in some of that instance. And of course, my wife shows up when I'm speaking out of the time I've been here.
I just scanned every column, and the no treatment was better than the Viroxan on the top bars in every instance, but two, and those were a tie.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw that too.
So it's a complete waste of money to put Viroxan on top bars. And in the comb, it's not really that much better.
It's not that far away. Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting stuff. I mean, thanks to Bob for being so transparent in this. This is awesome information to look at. I would have never known that the numbers would have been this close. So it's crazy, Now, of course, there's differences in the amount of OA in all of these, but and that could make up for some difference in some of the products, but not when you're looking at, and again, I'm not picking on a product, but one that hangs in the comb is 5.0 and the experimental top bar is 1.9. That's a huge difference. Even if the strength is a little different. I mean, that's, almost 3 times the difference between those two. So just a little thought to bring out to see what everybody would think about it.
You don't want to know what I think about it, honestly. I'm going to be nice on your stream.
For me, it's actually a pretty complicated data set because there's a couple different variables that are being played with here. So it's helpful for me to hear other people and what they've noticed in this data set. Like, it's complicated. Like, what are you pulling out of this? Are you pulling like I look at stuff like this and I think to myself, how might this drive my decisions in the bee yard? And there's two different things. It's thinking about preferences in queens, but it's also thinking about the products itself that are tested. So it's pretty darn complicated. So listening to you guys kind of talk through it has definitely been helpful for me. Brad, I have a question about the Canadian top bar or the Canadian product.
I don't know.
Okay. So maybe this is a general question for
I know
anyone
nothing
out
about
there
them.
because the Viroxan clearly says you should be hanging it on the comb.
Oh, I
I
believe it
wonder-
is made to hang in the comb. Yes.
So the top bar treatment is not the by the label treatment, just
Correct.
like Viroxan. That
Correct.
was my question. Thank you.
Yeah.
See, you did know.
Yeah, I think that was just Bob's experiment because he doesn't like the disruption in the comb, the way they
Yeah.
chew the comb away, which I don't think
Yep.
any of us do like that.
Yeah.
And for me, I look at this data and I think to myself, is the difference in the product worth that trade-off? Yes, there is a difference between hanging whatever product you're talking about, top bar versus comb, but is that difference worth it? If I put it in the comb, how much brood chambers area am I giving up by their behavior with that strip versus the mites that are going to be a little bit more if I put the strips? It's a trade-off. It's not just looking at a number and going, this number's lower. There are
And
other
because he
factors
did
that are being affected.
his experimental pad on the top bars, we can see that hanging it in the comb isn't the only way to get better efficacy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's simply and his OA concentration was higher in his pad, and it was a different kind of a pad. It was a different size and shape.
Yeah.
So,
How long did they use the treatments on the colonies? Does anybody know?
No.
not recall.
And it could also vary by location too. That might have something to do with things.
And then there was the fact that the dosage of OA varied as well. So it's not a straight comparison of product to product. Well, I guess it could be if you're interpreting it as what the label instructions say.
Right.
But I would wonder how Viroxan would compare against the Canadian one if the dosage was the same. Like, how might the data look then versus the way it looks now? So there's another confounding variable for me that makes this data set seem very complicated.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things they didn't explain, and it may not make a difference, right? Well, what was the temperatures when the temperature range when they had these in the colonies? What was the humidity?
Yeah.
Bob's humidity, even though we're close geographically, is much different because he's at a higher elevation, right? So there's
and let's remember too that the data that we're looking at wasn't something that they had planned on doing going into this. This was something that Dr. Lewis Bartlett did with the data once he saw exactly what they did with theirs. So they went into this project wanting to get one set of data out of it, and he saw how cool that data set was and what he could do with it, and that's how they started parsing out the different queens.
Well, you got poll by BRC, and then you got BRC by poll. So,
Yeah.
Right.
Todd, that probably is both of those two. That question that you answered, right? One was a queen that's with pole line drones, and one is probably pole line queen with Caucasian drones.
Yeah, that's what it is.
We just don't know which is which. I would assume the queen is the top number. The
I'm
top.
pretty sure it is.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think they did mention that they started out with 0 counts in April.
Yeah.
I think that they did that April. I presume that they put the stuff in April. I guess.
Yeah.
All in all, that across all of the queen, the differences in the queens, that experimental top bar really showed well. That's acceptable numbers across the board.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, technically a 3. Anything below a 3 is acceptable, right? By the current measuring standards, 3%. I mean, obviously 0 is the best, but
I don't think that was percent. I think that's 2.7 mites.
That's a whole number, not a percentage.
well, 2.7 mites per test is under the 3, which would be
It's not even 1 mite per
Yeah.
100.
Oh yeah, I got you. I understand what you're saying.
So Mike has a good comment there, and I was thinking about that too. I don't really know what the composition of those Viroxan and Canadian strips are, but the glycerin does allow it probably.
That is a good. Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up, Mike, because that was kind of in the back of my mind that the glycerin-based treatment probably allows better distribution throughout the hive.
Yeah, no, that is a very good point. I never thought about that because I have pads that I may or may not have taken out of hives, and they've been sitting outside, and you could press your thumb in them and draw up moisture. So that's the glycerin. It just doesn't dry up. It takes a long time for it to disappear.
Yeah.
So
that line is, is almost comparing a totally separate treatment, right? Viroxan top bars, Viroxan and comb, that's the same treatment, 2 slightly different applications. The Canadian top bars, Canadian comb, that's the same treatment, 2 slightly different applications. Same type of treatment as the Viroxan in the same 2 types of applications. The experimental top bars, yeah, okay, so it's a top bar like the other 2, but it's a very different it's a very different product.
yeah.
The acid is the same. That's really where the similarities end.
Real question is, how many people already ordered pole line queens for next year? Caucasian.
Real question is, how many people are looking at this data and going to take their Viroxan strips back to the store?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that would be me in this situation.
Let's be honest.
I wouldn't waste my money on it based on this.
Let's be honest. You take a look at these, you have a better direction to go in and whatever you want to treat with. I mean, everybody wants to treat with the best that they could get, obviously. And right now, looking at the numbers, there's only one in that category, in my opinion. But you could the queens do knock the numbers down big time too. So.
But if you compare everything not to the queens necessarily, but to the no treatment, right, to the control.
Yeah.
And the Viroxan, even the Viroxan in the comb, isn't really remarkably better than no treatment at all. So,
well, yeah, that's true.
It did almost nothing, even in the comb.
That's true, because if you look at the second to last column, and Viroxan in the comb is 1.0, and control, which is nothing, is 1.2. So in that case, it's not really the queen. Yeah.
Exactly. So now, is it meant to be used differently in the season or the temperatures or the length of time it's in the hive or whatever? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was any deviation there or not.
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course I know he knows where all the beekeepers are around him, but maybe there's one or two offs that he doesn't know about, guys that have 2 or 3 hives hidden in the woods somewhere that are mite bombs. I mean, you never know about that too.
Yeah.
But these treatments were they distributed these treatments, didn't they? Like they didn't take a whole yard and go Roxanne top bars and then a different yard and Roxanne comb. Like they distributed the
They
various
did.
treatments throughout a yard, right?
Yeah, because he did have those notes that he showed after at the end of the first video, and they were spread out within the yard. Like all of these were in each yard, I think, or
So
just
that should even out then. That
that
should
takes a
show that should be taken care of in the distribution of the
it
data.
takes it takes a lot of bias out of that equation. So yeah, I don't know, but I still it's very eye opening to what what it points to right now. Now the big thing is what are the governing boards going to do about this information? They see that we're all looking at this. Are they going to like say, well, you know, are they going to have the OA police running around everywhere now or what? Uh, who knows?
Are you guys allowed to use the experimental pads? Because in New Hampshire, it's illegal.
Yeah, no, in California, you have to have a what's that thing that Randy has? Randy Oliver. He's got the
Experiment
experiment.
license.
Yeah,
Yeah, permit. So basically, yeah, no, you're not allowed to do it officially.
So if you're not allowed to do that, you might as well not use anything because it's the only thing on there that really drastically reduces.
Exactly.
yeah. Well,
but we all know that there's the law, and then there's what beekeepers do. It's kind of it is what it is.
not that we're advocating any nonsense like that
Nope.
whatsoever.
No, would never do that.
Yeah, never.
Brian, you're kind of quiet over there.
Yeah. I guess for me, I tried Roxanne this summer. I don't have any data like this to back up how I feel about how it worked, but the reason I tried it, well, there's multiple reasons. One, because of being someone who teaches other people about bees, I thought it was important to have some sort of experience with the product before I started talking about it with other people. So I just wanted to try it out. The other piece was, I'm at a point in my business where I will trade time for money. And I was looking at this purchase as trading time for money, right? I'm going to spend money buying these pads, but it's going to save me time in making them. I'm sitting here doing the math on that trade-off, Bob. That's where I'm at. So is that trade-off of time versus money paying off in the bee yard? I'm questioning that now, and I might end up going back to applying for that exemption to what'd you call it?
Experimental permit.
Experimental.
Yeah, I might go back to applying for that experimental permit, if you know what I mean. So I'm thinking it through. There's a lot here, and like I said, it's super complicated, and I agree with you totally, Bob. In a situation like this, there's going to be a lot of people looking across that line, and then there's going to be a couple of phones that are going to be getting a lot of rings when it's time to start ordering queens. It's amazing how something like this can turn into something like that really quickly,
Yeah.
I mean, but I would agree with Todd that most of us, at least in my case, I fall in the unknown queen bracket, right? I don't know where Oh, I know where I got my queens from, but I don't know where they got their queens from. Right? That's kind of the thing. So it's one of those things that
I'm looking forward. It may or may not happen, but Brad and I and Bob, we went down the queen rabbit hole last winter, I think it was.
yeah.
And it made our heads spin with the stuff coming out of our mouths. I mean, it was crazy. There's so many variables. It's what was the one big thing, Brad? It's
The grandfathers of the drones, right? Like the drones that you're mating with, you're getting the genetics from. Oh, we're gonna do it again.
yeah.
Brad.
But
I've had way too much gin to get into that.
but the one thing that really got me thinking was the Mother Nature loves diversification.
Absolutely.
So if you're looking for something, if you want friendly, easygoing bees, and you breed for that, you're gonna lose something at the other end of that. You're gonna
Yeah,
maybe
you never
lose bee
gain something
production.
without losing something else.
Disease resistance might go down the tubes. I mean, it's not as
For
easy
for
as
for years, beekeepers would select against propolis production because it was annoying. It was difficult to manage. Well, now what are they saying? Well, propolis is some magical wonder drug for the hive.
medicinal. Yeah,
Well,
for bees.
whether you believe that and whether it's true doesn't matter. It's you know we the point is we select against something and we think we're doing this in a vacuum. Well, you never
Yeah,
do anything in a vacuum in nature.
you
And
know,
so selecting for one thing all the time,
I
I don't
think
know.
I just me thinking out loud. I thought about this for years. I think I've told you, Brad, but there's been years where they've bred to get rid of to get the swarming sense out of the bees, and I think that's my opinion. I think that's kind of the avenue, the crossroads where maybe things kind of switched for honeybees because there's a reason why they swarm. They obviously want to reproduce, but if they swarm, there's going to be a broodless colony for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, a month. And what happens there? Like for the case of mites, you got a problem because those mites will hang out in that colony and wait for a new queen to start laying. And when she starts laying, instead of having one or two foundress mites going in there, or help me out with
10 or 20.
You have
Yeah.
20 that will all of a sudden they'll feed on that pupa
They starve.
and they'll starve to death because they ate everything.
Yeah.
And then when that cap comes off, if the pupa's still alive, those mites are dead. They starve themselves.
Yeah.
And so years and years of taking the swarming out of the equation for breeders or inbreeding, in the art of breeding, I think that's, in my opinion, again, I think that's kind of one of the things that kind of gave us a big hiccup. But that's just me.
Yeah. Whether you can pin it down on, one or two things.
Yeah.
You just have to watch that video where Keith Delaplane talks to Bob Binney. I love that video. I just totally love that video. My gut has always told me, and my gut's often right because it's big. So gotta listen, right? And it's always told me that selecting for one thing all the time, one thing, and my gut has always said diversity. Like you need to get so much diversity out there. Like just flood the landscape with diversity. Stop with the control. We see what happens when mankind tries to control the environment. It almost always goes catastrophically sideways. Give nature what it wants. Tons of diversity.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Keith was preaching.
Yeah.
Just diversity in every way.
And since I'm going to stick my neck out even farther, I might as well do it on this. I've been under the opinion, once again, just me, for the last year at least, and Brad, you and I are in the same camp. I think targeting viruses it should be thought of more right now than targeting mites. If you could get a bee that can survive the viruses that the mites transmit to the bees, you don't have to worry about the mites. Yeah, the mites are going to bite holes in the bees and there'll be wounds and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's not going to be the kind of destruction that they levy on a colony now.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see. I don't know how many of us have done it, but you go to a colony in this, in the summer or in the fall, and you do an alcohol wash, and you look at the bottom of that jar, and there's 25 freaking mites in that jar, or 50, right? Mites in that jar. The colony's still alive.
Mm-hmm.
The colony's still alive because the damage hasn't been levied on the colony yet by the
Yeah.
viruses. That's going to come over the next month or two.
Yep.
The mites have decimated the colony physically, but they haven't killed it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
That's yet to come. We had a presentation last night that was very, very exciting, and there's this student at the University of Manitoba who is finishing her research projects, and she has her project is to take viruses to make a vaccine for the viruses, and she's well on her way to doing that. And not only that, but she's making it portable. She's making it modular so that she can take that vaccine and take all of her delivery method and whatnot, and then attach a different virus sample to it, so that then she can move on to acute Israeli paralysis virus or whatever they want. Right? She's working
Yeah.
on, of course, deformed wing to start with, because that's the biggest one.
Yeah.
But that's very exciting work because, and I told her, I said, this is exactly what you said. I said, this is extremely exciting for me because we always talk about mites. We never talk about viruses
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
the context of how do we get rid of this? How do we kill this? Right?
Yeah. Well, in the interest of time and the people on the East Coast, and look at Charlie hanging in there like a champ.
Yeah, it's got to be tomorrow already for
It's
Charlie.
11:13 on the East Coast, and Bryan and I said, it's going to be between an hour and an hour and a half, and we're hour and 12 minutes in. So, any last things, Bryan, or?
Well, first of all, thank you. Thanks, Charlie, for helping us get started, and thanks
Yeah.
for our three guys along the bottom for helping us get our stream going. Appreciate you guys supporting us, as well as all the folks in the chat. I haven't been very good at responding or even looking at the chat, but
I
it's pretty clear.
haven't either.
It's pretty clear that the
Don't forget to thank your
conversation's
technical
going on in
wizard.
the chat as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Your
You
technical
bet.
wizard.
It's our version
So
of Lee.
thanks everyone for helping out. Thanks by giving advice or sharing ideas. Todd, thanks for organizing that conversation around that data set. That definitely pushed my thinking on some of that stuff because I've just been so busy. I watched the two videos, but really haven't had a chance to kind of reflect on it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
this
interesting.
conversation's been helpful for me. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I don't know what else to say. I don't know how to end this thing. This is the first time I'm doing this.
Next,
But
Todd, do we have a next?
oh,
You want to look
yes,
at a calendar at all?
Thank you, Bryan. So
we will meet again.
we will, but it's going to be on Thursdays from now on. Today was kind of a one-off. There might be another one-off down the road because of Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Nobby, but we'll figure that out later. But looking at my calendar, I want to say October 30th, which is a Thursday, we will be going live again right after Ricky Rourke's show. I'm kind of lost on the times, but it'd be right after Ricky. I think he goes until about 7:30, or
No,
maybe
he goes
7
from
o'clock.
6:30 to 8. That's
yeah.
my time. That's mountain
So
time. I don't know what that is for everyone else.
It's 7 Eastern and 10 or 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern is when he ends. So we'll pick it up from there and go another hour and a half, whatever, whatever we can fit in within 90 minutes. And sometimes it might be shorter. So who knows?
Philip had a great comment in the chat way back when we started talking about our schedule. If you folks subscribe to each of our YouTube channels and hit the notifications, you'll be notified whenever our not consistent schedule pops up. So thanks, Philip, for offering up that idea.
And I will put it in the No Life Beekeepers chat on Facebook. I'll make a post in there, so we should all see about it. Tell anybody that's new to beekeeping if they want to just jump in and see what everything's all about, even though we might not be on the very starter level. There's information that will be talked about at some point during each stream that might help somebody out. So that's what we're here for. And I'm going to try to get some more West Coasters. I'm aiming for that. Yeah. So
DC called it the not consistent beekeeper chat. That's awesome, DC.
Well, like you say, it's going to take some time to get the information out in the Cali area and all that stuff.
And let's face it, this isn't the best time of year to be talking bees because everything's slowing down. So, we kind of have to grab at topics right now. Oh
no, it's the time to talk bees. Summer is the time to do bees.
Yeah,
right.
But I mean, as far as what's going on right now, I mean,
we're all kind of wanting to do bees, but we can't, so we talk about them instead.
But if you can capture your people on the West Coast more so that we haven't got nothing to do. There's this new talk show. Let's go there.
Yeah, exactly. I gave the example to Bryan. I'm in a bee club here in town, but they don't know a whole bunch. They don't really know about the YouTube channels, and they only know 2 places they could buy equipment. Well, maybe 3: Dayton, Man Lake, and Better Bee. So there's all kinds of stuff waiting for them to discover, and what Bryan and I want to do is
as the new president of the club, you can make a poster and go to the club and say the Todd and Bryan show every other week on such and such a time.
Well, I know one person that's going to probably watch the replay of this, and that's John. He was the past president of this club, and John, I hope you didn't vote me in as president.
He'll be past president on the board, and you'll be president.
He hasn't called or texted me yet.
He might change his mind after he watches it.
He might. Yeah, he might.
He doesn't want to tip his hand.
All right. Well, again, thank you everybody for showing up. Thanks for making this first stream a memorable stream for Bryan and myself. And we'll see you on, what was it again, Bryan? October 30th. Thursday, October at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. All right. So everyone, until then,
for this.
See y'all later.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
Yeah.